Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started with the webinar. We have a great program for you today, and so we'll go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone. I am Julie Bond, and I am the program manager for Best Workplaces for Commuters. We're located here in Tampa, Florida at the Center for Urban Transportation Research at the University of South Florida. And today we're going to talk about insights on sites. And so we have three great speakers that you're going to meet in a minute, and they're going to talk about how their multi-employer sites build programs for success. And I will be providing the overall program content, and then I will turn the time over to our host, Claudine Schneider with TDM Specialist. And then our two guest speakers are Amy McCrary from Stanford Research Park and Lindsey Huebner from Healthpeak Properties. And Claudine will give a little bit of an introduction for them in a minute. Some news for Best Workplaces for Commuters. The application period is now open. So if you are a member or you would like to become a member, our application period is open now through November 30th. We will list our national release of our employers' best sites, university and colleges, and partners. They are also included on the list on January of 2024. So we're excited about that. This is now the time to look at the application. If you're renewing, think about what you're going to do for your renewal, and then we would love to have you on our list. And if you have questions anytime, you can contact either Christine or I, and we can answer those questions. We also want to mention that Florida members can apply anytime, so they are welcome to apply throughout the year. A little bit about the different membership categories. Today, we're focusing on our best sites, so we're really excited to hear from them. That is one of our newest categories. We have Best Workplaces, which is for our employers. Best Sites, again, it's a designation for those multi-employer developments. We have Best Universities and Colleges. That is also a category where our universities and our colleges can apply and become members and be recognized. And then also we have our great partners who apply, and they are also listed on our website. And those partners are very important because we work with them throughout the year to bring this program to you in all parts of the country. And a little bit more about best sites, because this program is so focused on best sites. So for those of you who do not know what a best site is, it's a designation created for commercial and retail developers. So think of those multi-employer sites. So they could be a business campus, a shopping mall, or any type of multi-employer development. And some of those top benefits that are offered, so these are taken from the applications that we receive. And so the top benefits they offer is many of them have a designated employee transportation coordinator. They have commuter kiosks for their employees or employers to make sure, and those commuters coming in to make sure that they have a really great access to everything they need to know. Also, they offer transit subsidies, secure bicycle parking, lockers and showers on site, ride matching assistance, all kinds of different healthy employee initiatives, and many more. So those are just the top benefits that are offered by those best sites, and you'll be hearing about what some of those best sites today offer. And this is a list of our current best sites. You can go online, and each one of those sites has a link, and you can click and learn more about them. You can see they're located across the country. We have a large percentage from California and also from Virginia. And today you'll hear a little bit about some of the California sites. And before we introduce our host, Claudine, I wanted to say at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. So you all have access to the Q&A box, and you can type your questions in. Now, since we have multiple speakers, since I will moderate those questions at the end, or the speakers may answer them throughout the webinar. Could you please just indicate which person the question goes to? So you have Claudine, Lindsey, or Amy. Just if it's for a specific person, it could be a general one, but if it is for a specific speaker, that just makes it a little easier for us to make sure that we're getting your question to the correct speaker. So with that, we're going to move on to our program. So I'd like to introduce our host, Claudine Schneider. Claudine has worked with us for many years, and we really want to thank her for the team and her team at TDM Specialist. They are incredible. They work with all of the different sites and employers, and so they really make this program what it is for best workplaces for commuters. And she is the TDM, Transportation Demand Management Regional Program Manager, and she's also the One Commute Lead, which I believe she's going to tell you a little bit about today. So with that, Claudine, I'm going to turn the time over to you, and looking forward to some really great presentations about our best sites.
Thank you, Julie. Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Claudine Schneider with TDM Specialists, and the lovely ladies that you see on the screen is my team. Although there are only 4 of us, we are very mighty in the work that we achieve and the goals that we're able to set and accomplish. Basically, we work with real estate developers, architects, engineers, property managers, and employers to achieve vehicle trip reductions that may be required by local government regulations. We also develop TDM plans, and we provide solutions that meet entitlement approvals. We solve vehicle trip reduction requirements and parking reduction mitigation strategies. We have over 20 years of experience implementing and managing commuter programs. We incorporate the behavior change marketing to engage commuters and coordinate transportation solutions that include public transit, shuttles, carpooling, bicycling, walking, vanpool, even micromobility, and telecommuting. We brand ourselves as the commuter concierge for our sites, and we offer one-on-one trip planning, commuter engagement. We solve parking problems, and we support sustainability goals. Next slide. And with the awesome team over at Best Workplaces, these are the 21 sites that we have been able to obtain the national recognition for. 21 sites might seem like a lot, but to us, we're still building out this list, so we look forward to it. Next slide. And then these are the 8 workplaces that we've been able to work with that include ourselves as well as a best workplace. But we've also been able to obtain the best workplaces for commuters for these 8 sites. And again, we look forward to expanding this list as well and encouraging the benefits and resources Best Workplaces has to offer. Next slide. A little bit about what we do. Again, we do TDM planning preparation. We do a lot of the documents, the consulting, we do vehicle trip mile reductions, and we can develop commuter programs. And then we can actually work with counties and cities to actually get those plans approved. And then once we do get those approvals, we can actually take those plans and implement them into commuter programs. And a lot of that entails commuter surveys, again, our commuter concierge services, bike locker management, transit subsidies, whatever that specific program requires, we can definitely help implement those programs and build upon them. And then how do we do that? We incorporate the behavior change approach. So we use a CRM platform, and it involves a lot of commuter engagement, campaigns, events, getting out there and doing a lot of support with our tenants, our residents, property management, even property owners, depending on the site and what it entails. And that just is a lot of outreach, promotion, and marketing, and of course, incentives. And then the incentives that we do is we try throughout the year to come up with unique incentives per program to kind of make sure that everybody stays engaged in the commuter program and involved and really taking advantage of the resources that are available. And then at the end of the year, we do the surveys and kind of help figure out where we are with our programs, figure out what we need to build upon. And of course, if the site is required for compliance purposes, we submit those surveys and responses and results to the cities for compliance. These are a few steps that we take, and I put reoccurring steps taken because Every year we look at these steps, we look at our programs over and over again, and we figure out how we need to bridge the gaps in the commuter programs. But basically we start with a goal in mind. What do we need to reach for this program? We collect the data, we organize it, we learn upon it, we figure out what the programs are and what they need. And then the biggest part, this should be a bigger circle, is building our relationships. This is a very big part of how our programs are successful, but building those relationships with tenants, property owners, employees, just everything that's involved in that program. The building the relationships is the biggest part. And of course we bring in and we leverage different existing resources outside. But again, every year we look at these steps, we figure out where our programs are, we figure out how we can bridge those gaps to have successful commuter programs. Next slide. And the biggest part to really make our program so unique is we use the One Commute platform. Here, we're able to do our outreach. We're able to do, if the site requires a guaranteed ride home program, we can set that up, different ordinances. All of our outreach, we can do specific commuter profiles and do trip planning and figure out what people, how to bridge those gaps and get people involved. And the biggest thing too is our annual surveys. We can build reports and dashboards to pretty much see where our projects are and how to build upon them and make them better each year. And then with that, next slide, our connection to Stanford Research Park and Healthpeak. You'll be hearing from Amy McCrary from Stanford Research Park. She's the Assistant Director of Sustainable Transportation. With Stanford Research Park, we do the One Commute technical assistance with them, and we help build their commuter program that way. And with Lindsey, she's the Senior Director of Asset Management for Life Science Healthpeak properties. The properties she will be presenting today are sites that we help achieve our best workplace or best sites for commuters. And again, using the One Commute platform is how we've been able to maintain such a good, stay on top of our best sites and be able to continue with that national designation. And with that, I'll go ahead and I'm looking forward to both of these presentations today, and I'll pass it on to Amy.
All right, thank you so much, Claudine, for that warm welcome. We can go on to the next slide. Thank you so much. So I wanted to orient everyone, give you a sense of perspective and kind of put the research park on the map for you. We are here in Palo Alto, California, just 2 miles away from the Stanford University campus. We cover 700 acres. We are an innovation business park, and our building holdings are 10 million square feet of lab and office space, which also covers about 140 buildings and around 150 companies. We're also really proud to now have an amenity hub. It's called the Hub at Stanford Research Park. You can see there a little snapshot on the slide of that building. This building's been open for just over a year. It's complete with a cafe, conference space, EV charging access, full service bike repair shop, and loaner e-bikes. And all of these support our tenants within the research park. Here at the Hub, we also host numerous educational workshops, events, charity drives, and entertainment. So it really gives the research park a sense of place. It creates a very vibrant community. We have several companies that are within walking distance. And to also give you a sense of where this building is, it's right in the middle of the research park. So very centralized and a great way for folks to take advantage of all that we offer here in a really good strategic location. Next slide. I wanted to dive right into SRP Go, which is our commuter transportation program for the research park. So everything that's listed here on the slide is available for the tenants of Stanford Research Park. I'll start off with our free last mile shuttle and on-demand rideshare service. So basically, our free last mile shuttle is operated by Stanford Transportation, which is another entity that basically provides a lot of transportation for the university campus. But they do provide that shuttle for us, and it serves one of our most popular Caltrain locations near the research park, providing free publicly accessible shuttles. We also have an on-demand rideshare service. This is something provided by the City of Palo Alto. Excuse me, it's in a pilot phase currently, so it's relatively new. The service is being provided by VIA. It's going really great. We have numerous vehicles that serve throughout the City of Palo Alto and come into the research park, providing on-demand rideshare. And they also have, a lot of the vehicles are outfitted with bike racks, so we can serve our bicyclist population as well. The other great thing is the way that we support this on-demand rideshare pilot that the city is providing is we give free rides to and from the research park. So anyone who takes advantage of this service and uses it to come within the geofenced boundaries of the research park, they get a free ride. We also provide a commuter rewards program for all of our commuters that choose to either vanpool, carpool, bike, or walk to work, or use transit, of course. So this is a really great way to give a pat on the back and really encourage folks to take those alternatives to driving alone. Basically, this runs on the Ride Amigos platform, and folks can accumulate points by tracking their trips in the system. And at that point, once they've accumulated a certain number of points, they can cash those in for gift cards of their choice, or if they'd rather do a charitable donation, that's also available to them. As far as our communications, we provide monthly newsletters. So we have a dedicated newsletter that's generic. Well, I say generic, it's really kind of a catch-all of all different kinds of commuter news. So that would cover everything from vanpooling, carpooling, biking, transit. And then we have a specific newsletter that we send out as well monthly that is specific to our bike programming and reaching our bicyclist population. Additionally, we offer info sessions. So we're happy to either come on site to an employer's, whether it be a health fair, a one-off event, whatever it may be, we're happy to come over and bring our team and provide information on site to their employees. We also provide info sessions here at the hub where we have a great population enjoying lunch. A lot of times our sessions are lunchtime sessions, so people can feel like they're taking their lunch hour to come over and learn something about our programs, as well as enjoying lunch and stepping out of their office for a bit. We also have a vanpool program where we provide a monthly $100 subsidy for participants. So it's $100 per month per vanpool participant. We have a 5-person minimum to form a vanpool and take advantage of that subsidy. And again, this is available to anyone who works in the research park. This is anyone who is a full-time employee at their company. They could be a contractor. We really don't make any discrimination there. So it's very inclusive. Additionally, we offer a free car share 1-year membership. So our car share provider is Zipcar. We have several vehicles throughout the research park, 2 of which are here at the hub in the middle of the research park. And for those who would like to request it, we do provide a 1-year free membership. So that kind of just gets people into using Zipcar, gets their membership taken care of. And from there, they can pay the hourly rate to use the vehicles, which is particularly good for those who take transit, who ride share, and don't bring their personal vehicles to the research park. Additionally, we offer a carpool matching tool, again, through Ride Amigos, which is also our commuter rewards platform. We also promote the Bay Area carpool program rather, to everyone. And, if they can't find a match within our specific tool, they could go out to that one. So we encourage folks to find carpool matches any way they possibly can, including going internally and seeing if there's any way they can find matches within their company, maybe reaching out through Nextdoor or other tools that are on that residential end. So we do try to work with folks to get them a good carpool match. Additionally, for public transit, we do offer the VTA Smart Pass and a Tri-Transit promo. So the VTA Smart Pass is something that companies can opt into, and it basically provides a discount of annual, it's an annual pass that gives unlimited rides, both for commuting and for leisure to anyone that has one of these passes on VTA. So that's really great. It's light rail, it's buses, it's a very comprehensive pass. And we have numerous companies that have bought into that program and work with us on that. We also provide a Tri-Transit promo. So for some folks that maybe haven't tried transit yet and they're interested, we give them a $25 Clipper card. So it's preloaded and it can be used on any of the transit authorities. Additionally, we offer a guaranteed ride home program. And this is something that we will be sunsetting very soon, actually, because now our county, the county of Santa Clara, is providing a guaranteed ride home program. So we'll still have our guaranteed ride home program kind of as a backup in the background, but we'll mostly be promoting this new countywide program that's being offered. Additionally, we have a full service bike repair shop. So it's about a 450 square foot bike shop run by Mike's Bikes, which is a really great provider with other retail locations throughout the Bay Area. And they focus on repairs. They do have some bike gear, some safety items, lights, vests, things to make our bicyclists visible. But really what we focus on is keeping those bikes in good repair, good shape, so that everyone can feel confident on their bikes coming here. We have a fix-it station right outside of Mike's Bikes. We also give free flat fixes during business hours to anyone that walks in with a bike tire that may be flat. We also do special offers. So for instance, folks that work in the research park can come in and get a special discount on a helmet for just $10. That's all they need to do is provide their email address and let us know that they work here in the research park. And we provide them a $10 helmet. And then finally here we have our free loaner e-bike fleet. This is really just for day use. And I know a lot of different fleets out there. There have been some challenges operating those programs because sometimes the bikes will run off and get misplaced. This is something that we've put some boundaries around, and we do require that these bikes be returned to Mike's Bikes, checked out in the morning or anytime really during the day. They can be checked out as little as 1 hour or for the entire day, 9 to 5, but they do need to be brought back to Mike's Bikes at the end of the day. Next slide, please. And best workplaces in Stanford Research Park. So as we know, the Stanford Research Park is a best site for commuters in 2023. We've had this wonderful designation for the last several years, very proudly. And then within the research park, several of our tenant companies are best workplaces as well. And here's the list here in alphabetical order. Communications and Power Industries, also known as CPI, Ford Motor Company, Rubrik, Tesla, and VMware. And I just wanted to kind of go over, what we do, all of these things. We provide all of these great programs for our commuters. So let's talk about how that's making an impact. Our drive alone rate, we've been doing surveys since 2016. I didn't mention before, but basically the SRP Go program, the commuter transportation of the research park, has really only been around since 2016. So we started a baseline survey back in that year and got a 73% drive alone rate from that commuter survey. And as you can see, as the years have gone on, that rate has ticked down wonderfully, going all the way down to 63% at 2019. Of course, that's a milestone here. In 2020, we obviously faced the pandemic. 2021, kind of similar situation going on. A lot of folks still not coming back into the research park to work here physically. So we opted to not conduct surveys during that time, didn't really see that they would be all that much value during that time. But then in 2022, we reignited that commuter survey effort and did an interesting breakdown. Obviously, coming back in 2022, we know a lot of folks are doing hybrid working. So we saw that 63% was still the drive alone rate if you exclude the folks that are teleworking. But then if you do look at the folks that are teleworking, if you look at them and put them kind of in the mix, our drive alone rate went all the way down to 34%. So very interesting how things have changed, and really just to kind of see historically over time what our different programmatic elements have done to take down that drive alone rate, as well as obviously our tenant companies who have wonderful programs as well that made that best workplaces list that was previously on the screen. So it's definitely a team effort. We're doing a lot, my team, but then we have a lot of great companies that have really stepped forward and have been leaders here in the research park. We're very proud of them. And I guess at this point, that's where I will conclude. And this is my contact info. I'm happy to take any of your questions offline or later in Q&A. So thank you all.
Hello, I'm Lindsey Huebner, Senior Director of Asset Management and Life Science at Healthpeak Properties. Want to express how delighted I am to be joining everyone today. I'm very excited to talk about Healthpeak and our commuter program strategy for tenants. Next slide. So just a brief overview of Healthpeak. We are a REIT, which is a publicly traded real estate company. We are national and we're very much focused on health. We're invested in 3 segments: in life science, which is about half of our portfolio, outpatient medical, and CCRC. In life science, where my work is focused, we serve companies who work in a number of different areas. First off, in developing new drugs and treatments, many of which are life savings, but also other innovations such as plant-based meat alternatives and biofuels. And our portfolio totals about 11 million square feet in the San Francisco Bay Area, San Diego, and Boston. Next slide. Healthpeak is committed as a company to driving positive change through our real estate, and ESG plays a critical part in our business strategy overall. So whether it's making sure that our properties are high quality, sustainable, resilient, looking at our investments and development opportunities. For example, we have a large long-term project in Boston that is transit-oriented in nature, as well as engaging with our tenants, employees, partners, et cetera, to ensure long-term satisfaction and retention. Next slide. Next. Another element of our company is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as well as energy use overall. Real estate generates a fair amount in this area. And we look directly to our real estate through our construction, developing lead projects, doing mechanical system upgrades, putting in energy efficient lighting, as well as ones that are more indirect in nature, such as providing EV charging infrastructure to our tenants who drive, and giving them access to alternative transportation where possible to reduce cars on the road and their emissions. Next. So, as I mentioned, our life science portfolio has a large segment that's in the Bay Area. Bay Area is a wonderful area. I live here, adore it. It's very much known nationally as being the center of tech. Sometimes people refer to it as Nerd Hollywood, but it's also a hugely major hub of life science nationally. It all started with Genentech, which is located in South San Francisco and has expanded there. And from that, there's been a huge cluster effect with companies, research institutions being located here. And this draws amazing talent to the Bay Area. While this is an incredible area, it's faced with some significant challenges from a transportation standpoint. I'm from New York originally, and I'm very familiar with kind of traditional cities where you've got a metropolitan area where the downtown is in the center of everything. Here, and as you can see from these maps, the center of our metropolitan area is a body of water. And we actually have 3 major cities, San Francisco, San Jose, and Oakland, with suburban employment in between them, as well as residential all around the Bay. And over the years, opportunities were missed to create kind of a really strong integrated network from the outset. BART does not circle the Bay. San Mateo County pulled out of that in 1961. And so today we've got a patchwork of regional transit agencies and private transportation moving people around. And without a doubt, there's room for improvement there. And it creates a lot of challenges. Next. In the Bay Area, most of our portfolio is located in South San Francisco and Brisbane. These are cities that are neighboring one another and are located east of 101. Essentially, these areas are dense suburban locations, I would say. They are not downtowns. It's not San Francisco. It's not Oakland. And we don't have sort of centralized transportation hubs where everything comes together. So with that, there are challenges for our tenants and for our buildings to get people to work. This is absolutely critical for us, even with the changes that have come after COVID, because lab science must take place actually in the real estate. Folks come here 5 days a week to perform their science, and the employers are trying to attract office workers to come back to the office and minimize any barriers to that. So in essence, the lived experience of the employees and how they get to work is absolutely critical, especially in an environment where there's so much competition for lab talent. So with the challenges facing this area, as well as the needs of our employees who ultimately pay, or the employers, the tenants that ultimately pay us rent, and we are in the business of renting space, we need to be strategic in terms of how we address the challenges and opportunities of this location. Next. So Healthpeak across the board and a lot of facets believes in partnerships and the strengths of partnerships. We believe that working with partners allows us to leverage their expertise and in addressing our business. And kind of two elements of that in thinking strategically about how to solve the transportation and commute problems for our tenants and their employees. With that, we partner with two different organizations. One is TDM Specialists. With that, they help us tremendously with tenant engagement, which probably a lot of folks on this call can be extremely challenging. People are busy, their time is precious, and TDM helps us maneuver that and yield kind of the best information and engagement with the tenants. They also work with us on developing strategies to reduce demand on parking, as well as consulting with us on our newer developments. But leveraging their expertise is critical, especially as we also partner with CB on the property management side. And this honestly is not one of their core competencies and frees them up to focus on running properties and allows TDM to focus on transportation and commuting. The other partnership that we have in this realm is with Genentech. They're the large employer in South San Francisco, and they're also extremely committed to having good transportation opportunities and reduce the amount of car trips and cars on the road. And with them, we partner with them on G-Ride, which creates a much more robust continuum for last mile transportation and really helps meet the commuters where they're at. While there is a Caltrain stop in South San Francisco, it's not the bullet train stop. And while there is commute.org access to BART, the G-Ride takes folks to a different BART station, which results in cheaper fares and more direct connection for those people who take that. The other thing I'll say with Genentech is they're just a terrific planner for us, Healthpeak as real estate owners, in terms of other planning, considering other projects, bike share opportunities, engagement with South San Francisco, thinking strategically as well. And that's been tremendous for us. Next. So we are thrilled that 8 of our campuses have received the 2023 Best Workplaces for Commuter Sites. Next. And here, I thought we would just briefly focus on one of the campuses who won this designation. This is Britannia Oyster Point 1 and 2, which is located in South San Francisco. It's a little bit of an older campus of ours. However, it is adjacent to our flagship newer campus, The Cove, which is a transportation, retail, food and beverage hub for us. Next. And here, we have encouraging data over time to really see what are the impact of our long-term efforts and commitment to providing commuting opportunities to our tenants and their employees has been in terms of reduction of single occupancy vehicle and use of alternative transportation. So again, really excited to be speaking with you guys, and happy to answer any questions you may have. This is my contact information, and feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much, Lindsey. That was really a great presentation. Very, very impressive, that last slide, to see the percentages go up. So very impressive. Also, Amy and Claudine, if you could turn your cameras on, we will start the Q&A session. And Amy, that was a really great presentation on Stanford Research Park, and also Claudine. So we have questions for everyone. So if you have questions, we have a great group with us today. Please go ahead and ask them, and I'll start asking the ones that haven't been answered. We have some that were answered in the chat that you can go in and read, but I'll go ahead and start with the first one for Claudine. It says, you clearly do a lot to do outreach. What incentives have been most effective to increase participation of employer staff at the sites you work with?
Thank you for that question. Incentives is my forte. So, so for example, we have a few sites that, like I said, what we try to do is bridge the gaps in our commuter programs to make them a little bit more robust, to get people involved. So for example, we have a retail project in Palo Alto, and there was no guaranteed ride home until recent. There weren't a lot of resources for this retail program or site. And what we did is we developed a monthly no car commute reward program. Basically, they can trip log their trips as long as they're doing an 80% of the time taking an alternative mode of transportation to work, which is the public transit, biking, walking, all that good stuff. As long as they're logging their trips, they get a $50 reward for whatever's within that plaza. It's a Starbucks, the market, or they can use it towards a local bike shop. So we built that program to kind of get more people incentivized in taking alternative modes of transportation to that site. And also they have a bike lock, they have some bike lockers there, but there's a lot of turnover. So what I'm currently in the process of getting developed for that site is maybe a starter bike package. So we have a lot of young kids that, work at either the market or the Starbucks or the gym that's there. I'm working on like a starter package. Like if you sign up for a bike locker for a month or 2 months, we'll give you a free helmet, maybe some safety gear, things like that. So that's kind of one of the incentive packages that we're working on. On our Sunnyvale site, one of the incentives that we put together there, again, because it's in Santa Clara County, they didn't have a guaranteed ride home program, so we built our own. Uber became one of the tenants there, and so we built an on-site only for the tenants there for that site could take advantage of our own emergency ride home program. So we built that. We have residents that get free transit at other sites as long as they're residents. And then, of course, what we do to kind of get more employers involved, like I said, we do our yearly surveys. So at the beginning of each year, because we do our surveys at the end of the year, so we take all the data, we kind of go through it, finger through it, kind of figure out how people are commuting the most to that site. So if you have a lot of people taking transit, and if that employer doesn't already offer transit subsidies, we may then go in there to while we're having a one-on-one meeting with that tenant, we say, let's go over our survey results, and we say, you know what, you have a lot of people who take transit. Would you ever consider doing transit subsidies for your employees? So that's kind of what we do. And again, it's all based off of our relationships that we build with our tenants, so that when we have that one-on-one, we can make recommendations how to make their internal programs better along not just the site, but their programs for their employees as well. So.
Well, that's really impressive, Claudine. So that was great information. We know incentives can be very impactful. And Elizabeth also wanted to comment that Edgewood has a $10 commuter referral program too. So that's impressive to hear those incentives that you are offering. Okay, we'll move to the next question. Let's see, this is for everyone. For those that work with various third-party vendors to provide transportation alternatives to a best site, can you share some lessons learned about identifying and vetting good partners to work with? So that question was for the three of you. So would anyone like to be first in answering?
I can kick it off.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we do, so we obviously deal with a lot of, we leverage a lot of our resources outside. So for our South San Francisco, we depend a lot on with commute.org, Genentech, the Sierra Point shuttle. And, you know, we're very involved with the different other transit agencies. So Samtrans, we try to get those interconnections so that way we can figure out, you know, how we can better serve our sites. So, for example, on our surveys, if we believe, hey, with this, if adding a route at 6 o'clock in the morning, would you ride this shuttle? And so we kind of add those kind of things into our surveys when we can, and then we present them to the vendor and say, you know, hey, this is the data that we've pulled. And we kind of collaborate with them and work with them to kind of figure out how we can better serve our sites.
Great. Amy and Lindsey, did you want to provide any more for that question? And if not, we can move on to the next. Thanks for Claudine, your answer. So this is a question for Lindsey. Do you work with clinical research groups? And if so, how is that handled? Do you have any water taxi business you could use to help with the transportation? And that's for Lindsey.
What was the first part of the question, Julie?
Do you work with the clinical research groups? And if so, how is that handled? And then a question about any water taxi business that you use.
Okay, so I'll bring up water taxi to start. We do not directly work with any water taxi businesses. And as far as kind of water strategy goes, we really leverage our relationship with Genentech, which is constantly exploring opportunities on the water. And I think at this point, from an efficiency standpoint, ferries are what is looked at. But water taxis are certainly always under consideration and are a topic.
Okay.
As far as the clinical, you know, we have tenants who do clinical research, absolutely, which is, you know, again, I'm not sure exactly what information the person asking the question is interested in about that. It's, you know, certainly it's very specialized real estate, and we have people doing clinical trials regularly.
Okay. And Lindsey, while we have you unmuted, I'll ask this next question that is for you. Do you have any tips on how to tailor messaging for green initiatives that get more buy-in from tenants, employers at your sites? Particularly since you aren't always in an urban core location where diverse transportation infrastructure is present.
Yes, that's a very good question. You know, the reality is that you know, cars remain convenient, very expensive, but convenient to be sure. And you know, when I regularly meet with tenants, I'm asking how people are commuting, and frequently, and I think it's sort of coming out of COVID when the roads were emptier and people were maybe a little bit more nervous about transportation and being in communal spaces, you know, on BART or what have you. And so a lot of people, you know, do fall back on driving, and it's certainly a challenge to be sure. However, I think that helping people understand that there are other needs that can be met through commuting is important. You know, there's time savings in terms of being able to be more efficient and do work when you're commuting. There's certainly the financial savings in terms of not paying for gas or tolls. We have a significant cost load of bridge tolls in the Bay Area, as well as, to be honest with you, the roads have been pretty rough here, especially after a tough winter with lots of potholes, and that can do tremendous damage to your car. So I think that there's some messaging around that. The challenge is that, you know, how people pay for things and what true costs they see is somewhat masked, you know, paying for a monthly pass versus, you know, the drip of paying insurance twice a year and paying for gas every couple of weeks, et cetera. So I think trying to work with folks there is important.
Great. Thank you so much. That is very interesting. Also, for for any of the sites with a heavy concentration of medical organizations, how do you deal with commuters? So medical personnel, lab workers who do not work those traditional hours. So this question is for anyone who has workers who do not work those traditional hours. You know, if you have any comments on how you work with them or how you deal with those commuters.
I can make a brief comment. I did have one site, and they were lab workers, and we had a lot of them that worked evenings through the night, through, you know, to the next morning. And of course, shuttles weren't running at that time. So, you know, there we offered, you know, bike lockers. We tried to do everything that we could to offer them, you know, to be as flexible with them as possible. That one was definitely our biggest challenge, just because they're, you know, they're working when everybody's asleep. But trying to at least get them connected to what free shuttles they could that were closer to, you know, that did run at 6 o'clock in the morning, or, you know, the latest shuttles that went at night. That was our best bet. But offering any other resources. And then, of course, always promoting the guaranteed ride home there in San Mateo County, which was great because we did have employees that did take advantage of it. Even though they were leaving at that time at night, they were either taking an Uber or something home because their bike did break down. So they were able, luckily, to still have those resources, even though they worked odd hours.
That's great. Did anyone else want to comment on that, Lindsey or Amy?
Excuse me, I can say that, you know, we did kind of do a pilot at one point trying to reach not specifically medical professionals, but, you know, the folks that support food service, for instance, in some of our buildings here in the research park. We tried to market and kind of get going a van pool that would serve early morning hours, and we did an extra subsidy to kind of make that attractive to folks that had to come in early and work these shifts. It never really took off. You know, we tried it. I would say that we do have one company here in the research park that's manufacturing, and so they do have shifts, again, not medical, but manufacturing. And I've noticed that they tend to utilize van pools, so they can get a few folks together that work internally and happen to either work or rather live along a corridor that the van pool will serve, or live in that same home residential community, and they're able to be served through our van pool program that way. So those are a couple of thoughts on helping out the shift workers.
Great. We have a question for Lindsey. I don't know, Christine, if you can just flip back to her last slide. It says, how did you gather the data for your last slide? And that might be easy to just flip back to since it was at the end.
This, I believe, is information data that TDM has gathered through its engagement with tenants. And I think I alluded to this before, that, again, it's hard to get tenants to respond. We've been blessed with this campus in particular to have had large corporate tenants who are committed, you know, have sort of an alignment of values in this realm. And so their response rate was really quite robust, giving a good data snapshot here.
Great. Yeah, that is an interesting slide to look at. So thanks for that question. And thank you, Amy. We have, time is running out, but we have just one more question to ask. And Amy, have you had any issues with your e-bike loaner fleet, like bikes going missing?
Right, I did kind of allude to that, that these fleet programs can be challenging to operate. Thankfully, we now are at a point at a day and age where there are tracking devices, tracking capabilities for these bikes, which we do have on ours. I don't receive personally those alerts if a bike were to go missing, but I know that we are able to see that information. So if someone didn't return a bike to Mike's Bikes here at the hub at the end of the day, as we require in our policy, we would be able to locate it. And we would also know who checked it out. And we do reserve the right to not allow people to continue participating if they abuse the program. So we do have some checks in place, and so far, knock on wood, things have been going really well with that program.
Great. Well, thank you so much for that. And in the Q&A, there are other questions that have been answered. So for our attendees, please feel free to look through those with the answers. And I want to thank everyone for attending. This has been a really great and informative website. And I thank the presenters, Claudine, Lindsey, and Amy, for the time that you took to prepare your presentations and the time you took to be with us today. With that, I'm going to turn the time over to Christine to close out the session and tell you about the evaluation. So Christine, you have the final word.
And we did have another question that came up and asked if we would have this recording available. So yes, we will send out an email that will have the recording link for you to check that out and to distribute. It will also be on the BWC website, so you can check it out there under the events tab. And you could complete our online evaluation. We would really appreciate it, and give us ideas for other webinars in the future. And you can see the link there is in the chat, as well as we'll send that out by email as well. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our speakers and our hosts.
Thank you, everyone, and have a really great day.
Thank you.